can we swap out the word intense for intentional? So stick with me here because a few of my friends made fun of me for this video I wanted to make about questions we should make socially acceptable to ask early on in dating. Because I think sometimes it's really easy to just end up in a situationship or a relationship where your goals and your vision for life just aren't aligned. And I believe that's because we live in a scarcity mindset. So when we found someone that we like, that we have a crush on, we're a bit like, okay, what can we do to keep this person interested and to reel them in? But the problem with that is, when you play games in the dating environment, it's just training that person to not actually know how to love you. So if you're the type of person who, really enjoys texting every day and seeing each other at least 3 times a week, but you're trying to play it cool. So you're like, okay, I'm just going to text them every other day or every third day. They're just getting used to thinking that that's the kind of person that you want to be with and that you are just a text every 3 days type of girl or man. And that's just not good because you're just not training that person to understand who you really are and how can they possibly fall in love with you if they don't know truly what's in your heart. So I want to normalize being a little bit more upfront. And for those haters who are calling me intense and saying I have no chill, no, I don't really have any chill. And also, I do think we need to change the mindset. It's not intense, it's intentional. So, of course, I have some trusty questions which I've prepared for you. And I would also say that if someone is capable of being scared off because you've asked too deep a question on date 2 or date 3, they're probably not the one for you anyway. So it'll be a great filter to see who you can scare off. So consider that tip number 1 for free. What I'm hoping is the purpose of this video and just getting thoughts and comments, and please do let me know what you think, is that we move away from this disposable kind of dating and we go more into like purposeful discernment, because ultimately dating is to discern if this is the right person that you could spend the rest of your life with. And why wouldn't you need to ask some questions to make that happen? And in 1997, there was a study by psychologist Dr. Aron, and it was the 36 questions to help you fall in love with anyone. And the purpose of this was to see if they could conjure up vulnerability and authenticness and genuineness through 36 questions that people could ask from the get-go, so from the first date. And actually, very sweetly, one of the kind of test subjects, I suppose, they got married within 6 months. So it obviously did work. And you've probably seen these questions floating around the internet. I will read them out as well to you. But it's just an interesting concept that really, if you can get to the nitty-gritty of someone, not only could you really maybe find your spouse and the person you're going to be married to, but it'll also help you to weed out people that you don't want to spend unnecessary time or energy on, because, our time is such a precious resource, and also our feelings and our energy and our emotions. So I say just be straight up and dive in. Also, I'll add that we were not built to have multiple breakups. We were not, we're not programmed like that. So really, if we can have this discernment period be a much more intentional time of getting to know the other person, rather than falling for them, having a crush on them, not infiltrating, that sounds really intense, but incorporating them into your daily life, bringing them into your community. Also the oxytocin that you get from like holding someone's hands, from hugging them, like this all stuff can blur the discernment period. So I am all about really elongating that and being friends first, because that's such a good foundation. Okay, so my first question is, describe your perfect Sunday. That's like an easy one to start with. And that's a really good way to see, are they religious, for example? Like, is church really like the epitome of their Sunday? Are they a brunch with friends type person? Do they love seeing their family on Sunday? How much do they necessarily put into organizing the week ahead? Do they say that they have a strict cutoff point on a Sunday evening so they can relax for the week ahead? Are they a TV watcher? What are they doing? Are they spending time in nature? It's just a really nice way to get a glimpse into their ideal life, because a Sunday is a really beautiful day spent in rest and restoration. So I think to know what someone's Sunday is like is really helpful. Question number 2 is, what habit are you trying to break? I think this is a really good question because it's not as intense as something like, what mistake do you keep making? but it's a way to find out their vices. So it might be, so for me, I would say I am constantly 10 minutes late and I'm really trying to break that habit. Or for someone who's a smoker, maybe they're trying to break smoking. It's also a way that maybe someone might reveal if they have any other kind of addictions or issues. Again, this really depends on how honestly they're going to answer the question, but you could just get a little taster. So I think that's a good one as well. Number 3 is, what's the most used app on your phone? I think, again, this is a great indicator to know, like, how do they use their spare time? Are they big on social media? Do they consume a lot of news? Is their main app email? Like, are they just going through their emails? So I think this is just like a very modern way of kind of getting a glimpse into their brain and how they spend their time. And that could also cherry out into different questions about, just tech time in general. Number 4 is, who do you text or call the most? I think this is a really interesting question because you'll get an insight into who their person currently is. Obviously, hopefully this person is single and you're single. So it might be that, it's their mum or their sister, their brother, their best friend. It's just a really good way of seeing, like, who is that person that they're leaning on at the moment? Who is that person that they're always talking to? And then also you can figure out, like, what does that mean to them? So if this is their best friend, how do they meet? How do they know each other? And it would just go off into like a really easy, natural conversation about that as well. So it's just good, I think, to know a little bit about the person you're thinking of dating's network and their community as well. Number 5, I'm going to be called very intense with this question, but in an ideal world, where do you see yourself in 2 years? The reason I've picked 2 and I've not picked 5 or 10 years is because 2 years is actually pretty close in the future that you could be already laying down the foundation for that now. So if someone asked me that, I would say my ideal life in 2 years would be married with children, with children, maybe if I was gifted with twins or triplets, but married with a child on the way, or because it's very much like showing this is my vision for my life. And I'm not saying it in an intense way like, married to you, carrying your child. No, it's more just saying it in a very distinct and hypothetical, but a way that you know what your vision and your goals are. So it's like in an ideal world, I would see myself, in this career with a family, starting a family, etc. And I think it just helps you to understand where the head is at, because the next year, the next 12 months is to lay that foundation. And of course, we cannot control if we meet the right person and all these things. That's why the question is in an ideal world. But it helps you to see like that person's heart and the desires that are most on their heart. If it is family life, if it's travel, if it's career focused, if it's like a health goal or something like that. So it's a very good question. And I really think that the 2-year mark is like a good marker to see where they want to be and what, foundations they're laying this year. So those are my 5 questions. They're not super hard to remember. There's only 5, so I don't think you're going to feel like you're interrogating them. But I would love to hear what your questions would be. And if you have any more, I did have a suggestion about knowing the community of that person. So knowing if they do have a mentor or like someone that they can get wise input from, which I do think is really important. And that could maybe stem off from asking about the person that they call or text most. But as promised, I'll also share the 36 questions. So this is, again, by that psychologist, Dr. Aron, and you can find them really easily written down if you just Google 36 questions to fall in love. So yes, the aim of this is really to speed up this creation of intimacy between 2 strangers and unlock vulnerability and genuineness. So number 1 is, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? Number 2, would you like to be famous? In what way? Before making a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say and why? What would constitute a perfect day for you? When did you last sing to yourself or to someone else? If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want? Do you have a secret hunch about how you will die? Name 3 things you and your partner appear to have in common. For what in your life do you feel most grateful? If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? Take 4 minutes and tell your partner your life story in as much detail as possible. 4 minutes. I'll definitely need a stopwatch for that because I would just be like, oh, say my life story. Okay, number 12. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained any one quality or ability, what would it be? Definitely being able to speak different languages. I wish I was a linguist. It would be so good. 13. If a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else, what would you want to know? Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time, and why haven't you done it? What is the greatest accomplishment of your life? What do you value most in a friendship? What is your most treasured memory? If you knew that in 1 year you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you're living? Why? Number 20, what does friendship mean to you? What roles do love and affection play in your life? Alternate sharing something you consider a positive characteristic of your partner. Share a total of 5 items. Next question. How close and warm is your family? Do you feel your childhood was happier than most other people's? How do you feel about your relationship with your mother? Make 3 true we statements each. For instance, we are both in this room feeling ... Complete this sentence. I wish I had someone with whom I could share ... If you were going to become a close friend with your partner, please share what would be important for him or her to know. Tell your partner what you like about them. Be very honest this time, saying things that you might not say to someone you've just met. Number 29, share with your partner an embarrassing moment in your life. Number 30, when did you last cry in front of another person and by yourself? Next question, tell your partner something that you like about them already. Number 32, what, if anything, is too serious to be joked about? Number 33, if you were to die this evening with no opportunity to communicate with anyone, what would you most regret not having told someone, and why haven't you told them yet? Number 34, your house containing everything you own catches fire. After saving your loved ones and pets, you have time to safely make a final dash to save any one item. What would it be and why? The penultimate question. Of all the people in your family, whose death would you find most disturbing and why? And the last question is, share a personal problem and ask your partner's advice on how he or she might handle it. Also ask your partner to reflect back to you how you seem to be feeling about the problem you have chosen. So those are the 36 questions that have been scientifically and psychologically proven to help build intimacy with someone. Now, I feel like if you brought that list to an early date, that would be pretty intense because that's it's very deep and it's like there's 36 questions. I'm not saying my 5 are any better, but at least there's only 5 of them. But I hope that these questions have helped to spark ideas for you on just like how to really have good and meaningful conversations, because really small talk is just not going to be able to cut it. And it's not going to say if this is the person, who you could build a life with. And ultimately you're trying to see if you're on the same mission. So good luck with discerning, and I hope it all goes well, and speak to you soon. Okay, bye everyone.